Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric. So today's topic is going to be on why certain things are put in place and why you're supposed to do things a certain way matters and when it can get you into trouble. Alright, stay with us. Hey, welcome back. So today's topic is why there's certain things put in place and procedures of why you should follow it step by step. And because normally if these steps are in place, there's a good reason for them. But this takes me back to, when I worked security and I was a canine handler. And over time, I became the trainer of the canines. We had 7 dogs. And each dog, I won't lie, I tell a lot of people, I get along better with animals than I do with most people. So having this job was it wasn't a job. I enjoyed the animals. I enjoyed the dogs. And we had in place, certain reasons why you do things a certain way, okay? And I don't want to get off topic, but we had this one female. She was a solid white German Shepherd, and her name was Boss. And Boss was my dog. But if she could sense fear in the other guards that were hired to walk the dog, you would swear she was going to eat him alive. And she was scared of Jesus. And it would just make me laugh. But there was really only 2 guys. There was me and one of Pete that could handle Boss. And Boss was the best dog you could ever ask for. She was so well trained. And she was trained so that you could either do leash or unleash. That's how well she was trained. And you could walk to a certain spot and point, and she would get down on her belly, and you tell her to stay, and you walk, and then you say heel, and she'd be right there next to you. And she would tuck right next to your leg every place she went. But she was trained both ways, okay? A lot of the German Shepherds, and we had one crazy pit bull, that came in, they weren't trained that way. They were trained simply leash. And leash was whoever had the leash, the dog would protect. Okay, that's how we tried to put it across to the guards when they came and were working. And it was also my job to keep them, to train the dog with the guard to react a certain way. And what I would do is I would put on the suit. You've probably seen him before, police academy or whatever else. But mainly the arm pads were the biggest one, and then the legs, because the dog would go for the arm or leg. And what I would do is I knew that the guard would be coming up to you with a dog on their rounds. It's crazy, right? And I would hide on the side of the road, the dirt road that they were walking. And as they approached, I would jump out with a stick, and pretend like I was going to attack the guard dog or attack the guard. And the dog was supposed to react. That was their job. But I also wanted to see how the guard was going to react. Was he going to jerk back and try to run with the dog? But this only worked when the wind was in my favor. And when I say the wind in my favor, dogs have got a keen sense of smell. And if the dog got to an area where she could smell me or he could smell me, they would automatically go off the defensive and sit there and be wagging their tails wanting attention. But I had to train the dogs, but I was also responsible for training the guards. of how to handle the dogs. And one of the key things was you never let that dog off the leash. Rule 1, never let that dog off the leash unless it's putting it into the kennel. Even when there was 2 different locations, and one had to go over to the other location. And we had the dog boxes in the back of the truck. And even when you put the dog into the box for transport, you'd open the thing and go. It would jump in, but you leave the leash on and shut the door, so the leash is still there. So you could grab the leash, unhook it, and bring it down. Well, we had this one guy. His name was Sean. And he was like a kid, but he was like 6'3", heavy-set kid. And this guy, he was so engrossed of being in law enforcement, security type, and having a uniform. They actually got word that there was somebody over on the main road pulling people over for speeding. It was Sean. In our uniforms, security uniforms, on his way home or on his way to work, pulling people over. I mean, this kid it all went to his head. But you couldn't tell him anything. So there was one day, I had the day off, and he was assigned to be over at the other location. For whatever reason, because over there you had a place inside, but you were still supposed to make your rounds and then back. And for whatever reason, he thought it was smart to unleash the dog. Yeah. And I get a call, and it's my supervisor saying, "Can you come in?" And I said, "Why? Is there a problem?" Or he said, "Well, we've got one right now. We need to get cleared up quick." I said, "So what's going on?" He said, "Well, Sean, we've had reports. People have called in from the town just south of where he's located, of someone going around asking homeowners for a steak or some hamburger to try to coax the dog back. And he's telling people to stay in their house because the dog is vicious." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm serious, Eric." He said, "That's what the reports that we're getting. We're getting calls about this." And I said, "All right." I said, "I'm going to head right down there." So I drove down to the township, and I spotted Max. He had Max. It was a big black and tan German Shepherd. And we were good pals. I mean, I love the dogs. But I see Max, and I had the kennel in the back of my truck, the box. So I hollered to Max. I said, "Heel, Max." And he come running all the way up through and got right down next to my leg. I said, "Box." He jumped in the box. No leash. So I had my radio, and I hollered back to the CP, command post, to the supervisor, and I said, "I've got the dog in the kennel, and I'm going to bring it over. I'm going to put it into the main kennel and then head for home." He said, "Well, have you seen Sean?" I said, "No. At this point, I'm not interested in Sean because Sean didn't follow the procedures. And the rule 1 was never take that dog off the leash because he had no control over that dog." And that's how sometimes in life, we wonder why there's certain rules in place. If you go to work for a business or, certain laws that were enacted that you're supposed to follow, there was probably a good reason for it. And until you find out what that reason is, you should have no reason to not follow the rules. Because in Sean's case, he should have been fired. You know, having that whole township all worried about a killer dog. I mean, the dog was trained, aggressive. But it wouldn't be aggressive if it didn't sense fear, the reaction. But that sometimes, it doesn't matter how young or old you are. You wonder why your parents have certain rules in place. And instead of just simply disagreeing with them all the time, maybe you should ask why the rule is in place. And usually you're going to get a good reason. If you're a 2-year-old, you keep saying, why? Your parents are going to finally say, because I said so. And sometimes that grows when you're a teenager, because I said so. But there's a certain rules that we parents put on our kids to keep you safe. There's certain rules when it comes to employment to keep you out of harm's way. They're there for a reason. Because all it takes is a split second for something to happen. If you don't understand the rule, it's better to ask about the rule and why the rule is there than it is to totally disregard it. So I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you on the next video. Follow the rules.